Okay, here we go. Welcome everybody. Good to see you all. We are starting. Just as an important note, so today's the classes for the months of Cheshvan and for Kislev are sponsored for the success of Yitzchak Reuven and Avram Kalman ben Shulamit Esther, and for healing and unity of Am Yisrael. So as an anonymous sponsorship, thank you to our tremendous anonymous sponsor, and this helps to keep us going and getting everything out into the world. Emir Hashem. So Baruch Hashem. So let's go. So let's dive right in, because we're short on time. I apologize. I was driving for like 8 hours straight today. I'm a little out of it, but Emir Hashem will go and we'll be strong. So when we finished off last week, we were continuing. This Torah has been going for a long time, and we spoke about a number of issues, a number of inyanim. But basically, let's give a quick rundown in one paragraph of this whole entire lesson so far, and then we'll continue today. I'm going to read, this is in English, by the way, in the BRI version. It says, in review, on page 252, right in the middle. So the Torah started off by saying that it's through Emunas Chachamim, faith in the sages and tzaddikim, that we bring our mishpat to light, our judgment to light. Someone who does not have Emunas Chachamim is unable to derive true judgment and ways to live, unable to make clear decisions, unable to have clarity. And so he's never clear about the path that a person is meant to follow, lives with doubt and safek. We're not clear without Emunas Chachamim. And the pollution of the mind and the inability to exercise mishpat like this causes us to be in bad decision-making mode, and then we give authority to bad guy rabbis. That's the technical term. That's the technical term. And this causes that our own writings lose their authority, and it ends up causing Jews to be banished from lands that they've previously settled in. While being in exile causes us to lose the wisdom that makes us unique in the world. That was the mystery of intercalation, which we're going to not go into too much depth right now with. And because of the pollution generated by a lack of emunah chachamim, our hearts can never obtain Eitzah Shlema, perfect counsel. And we find ourselves in a state of perpetual uncertainty and doubt. Then we said that blemished emunah is a result of machlekes, of dispute, which is called comes from the mei mariva, the waters of strife, but it can be rectified by mei mariva, the waters of conflict, of strife. What's the waters of conflict and strife have to do with? Is really actually teshuvah. It means machlekes with ourselves. It means that we're asking questions to try and grow and getting answers. We're working and getting responses, going back and forth. That's this type of holy machlekes, a machlekes l'shem shemayim, a dispute that we constantly have. Like, who's the person who's not growing, who's not doing any tshuva, has no dispute. Like, just going about easy life, right? Not trying too hard, not growing. When a person's like that, there's no dispute, right? Like we like to explain that the Yetzer Hara, or the Satan, the evil inclination, if a person is just like chilling, right? The evil inclination is very happy and does not step in. You just keep doing what you're doing. Just don't, whatever you do, keep not doing anything. Keep not trying to grow. Keep not asking questions. Keep not pushing yourself and fighting with yourself and having this back and forth. You just stay there. I'm not getting involved. Right? But when a person starts, that's the steady state. That's where the Satan wants us to be. But when a person is doing tshuva and wants to get closer, so a person strives to get closer and then steps back and asks questions and gets responses and grows higher and falls down and grows higher. It's all this back and forth that we experience when we're trying to grow. Like the guy with huge muscles, not me, who's lifting the weights, right? up and down, tearing those muscles. But every time he tears the muscles, they grow bigger, right? This is like a metaphor for this aspect of growth. This is, and this is the book that we write when we do tshuva. Our life becomes a book that's written, which is the book of questions and responses. Questions and responses, growth and in this pattern. Oh, this is the life of a Jew. The books of Torah containing the teachings of the sages and tzaddikim then acquire renewed value. And then we have this renewal of Torah that happens when we go through this process. And as all the books of Torah, when we write our own book of Teshuvah, we reconnect with all the books of the Torah at the same time. And they develop renewed meaning. We spoke a lot last time about the inyan of renewal, of his chadshus, and the importance of this. We spoke last time about the importance of a person having self-confidence and self-esteem in a holy way, and emunah in ourselves, that we know that we can do it, right? And that sometimes these are the very things that keep us down. And so that's basically where we're at now. Everybody with me? A little bit, at least? I'm only with me a little bit, so hopefully we'll... So let's go. So we're now at Vav on 252. Ve'al yadei zeh. And it's through all of this that we just talked about. Nimtakim kol hatzimtzumim. Shehem hadinim. The constrictions become sweetened, which are... The constrictions are dinim. Severe judgments. Okay, so if you look in English over here, he translated nimtakim as mitigates. I'm not going with that. I'm going with nimtakim, means sweetened. Sweetened judgments. It's from the word matok. It's the same word, right? Mitigated is a good word also, but I'm not going there. So what are we talking about here? Through this, nimtakim kol tzimtzum shem adinim. We have in this Torah, we've been speaking about the concept of mishpat. What does mishpat mean? Judgment. Judgments, justice. What does dinim mean? Judgments, also. They really are the same thing. They really mean the same thing. What's the story? What are we talking about over here? This is something that ties this Torah together in a very important way. Because they're really coming from the same place, and they really mean the same thing. But they're two sides of a coin. One which is positive and one which is negative. The concept of mishpat is, we've been translating it from the beginning really as decisions. That's what really a mishpat is. It's a decision. What was the decision that the court brought down? Right? What was the final decision? And in all of our individual lives, we are faced all the time with decisions. When we're struggling, what do we do? What do I need to do? What do I need to accomplish? We're at a moment of mishpat. And if we don't have this emunas chachamim, we're not grounded in, like we've been saying from the beginning, grounded in this channel and aligned with our whole entire Messiah and the whole entire Torah and all of Klal Yisrael and the purpose of creation from the beginning and the Moshe Rabbeinu and all the rabbis and teachers throughout the generations. When I align myself with that, I'm able to now bring my mishpat to light, my judgment to light. And I'm able to have a place to connect to be able to make good decisions. And then, that's mishpat coming to light. When I don't have that, and I remove myself from that alignment, and I fill myself up with all what we call in this Torah, the moisros, all the extraneous matter and the waste matter of this world, and that's where I put my connection into. So what do I experience now? I experience darkness, confusion, the inability to know what to do, right? Doubt, and I don't know where I am. I'm in a place of darkness. And that place of darkness is because I am cut off from the light of Hashem that is coming, that is supposed to come through this channel that we create. And when I experience darkness and confusion, and now the things that are happening in my life are challenges, are tests, are suffering, are difficulty, are confusion, right? This is dinim. That's the negative. I have a choice. I can bring mishpat, lahotzi mishpat laor. I can bring mishpat into light, or I can be in the dark and face suffering and torment and challenge and test. But they're really two sides of the same thing. That's why we're using these two words in this Torah of mishpat and dinim, right? So he's telling us now that if we don't have this, we're going to experience dinim, and it's the concept, it's the klippas are blocking the flow, and so I don't have clarity. So everything that he told us to do now in this whole Torah, leading up to now, is through this we can sweeten those constrictions and judgments. We can sweeten them, and sweetening of judgments, or as he calls over here, sorry guys, mitigating judgments. Let me just turn off the notifications here, sorry. Mitigating the judgments, right, is through this whole, everything we've been talking about, emunas chachamim, and alignment, and Torah learning, and connecting to the tzaddikim and the Holy Torah, and all of these things we spoke about, and having the confidence and moving forward in this way, right? This is how we're gonna make it through, and we're gonna sweeten our judgments. So let's read another more sentence, and then we'll speak a little bit more. V'chol makom sheyesh eze din v'tzimtzum nimtak al yedei zeh al yedei tikun emunas chachamim. Every time we have a place of any din or tzimtzum, any constriction or harsh judgment, nimtak al yedei zeh, it becomes sweetened or mitigated through this. Through what? Al yedei tikun emunas chachamim. Through the rectification of our emunas chachamim, our faith in sages and tzaddikim. Shal yedei zeh nisrabim hasfarim shal haTorah HaKadosha. That's through this that we amplify, increase, proliferate all the books of the Torah. Because as we said, when we go through this process and we do, and through this process we do tshuva, and through that tshuva of the back and forth of our striving and fighting, we write our own sefer, our own book. That in turn opens our eyes to all the other books on the wall over there, and opens our eyes to all the svarim written by all the tzaddikim and the Talmidei Chachamim. And now it's as if they're newly created, because now that I did, if you remember, before I did tshuva, before I had emunas chachamim and did tshuva, I scoffed at those books and I mocked them, right? I didn't really, but that's what a person did, right? And like it says about Rabbi Akiva, that he used to say about Chachamim, about the rabbis, he hated them so much that if he saw them, he would bite them like a donkey. That's what Rabbi Akiva said before he became Rabbi Akiva, right? And he went through a whole rectification and became Rabbi Akiva and became the father of all Sfarim, the greatest sage that ever lived, as we like to call him, right? This is what Rabbi Akiva became. But through the growth process and the tshuva, those Sfarim that I didn't believe in, they meant nothing to me. It's as if they didn't exist. Now that I did tshuva, now that I became back, and now that I developed emunas chachamim, now those Sfarim are important to me. It's ki'ilu, they were just created now, because I didn't care about them before. It's like they didn't exist. Now they're cherished and they're important, and it's as if they existed. Now we have a proliferation of the Torah HaKadosha, which is what happens over here through this whole process over here. So let's talk a little bit about this concept of the dinim being nimtakim, the harsh judgments being sweetened. So there's like two ways to see this. And I've seen people explain in this particular Torah that we're learning now, two different ways of seeing this. But when you think about the concept of judgments being sweetened, right? It sounds like why didn't they just say, why isn't the term judgments being deleted or removed? Right? You ever think about that? You've heard this term before? Judgments being sweetened? Why is it sweetened? Why aren't they just gone? Bye-bye, removed. Right? So there's two things I want to say about that over here. The first thing is that we see in this Torah, we're talking about the two sides of a coin. And really, there's something there. And I have the ability, through the way that I relate to it and the way that I live, to plug myself in to this channel, and now be able to bring down a mishpat la'or, to change it into something that I can bring into light. right? This is one reason why it's called nimtak, because really, it can be a mishpat that is moitzi la'or. It can be a judgment, a decision that comes out into light. On the other hand, it can become a harsh decree, a harsh challenge, right? So, this, I'm sure everybody can identify with this, because I know I can. There are certain things that very often are only really a challenge, are only considered suffering because of the way that we relate to it. Our perspective. Because of our perspective. Certain things. Right? So, meaning, like, I'll tell you something funny that I remember speaking about and hearing about many, many years ago. Let's say you have a little kid, and you're a parent. You have a little kid, right? And this kid has all kinds of challenges, right? Let's go far back. Let's go back to when the kids are like just learning those first things, like learning how to hold, fine motor skills, how to hold a spoon and eat, right? And maybe they get too upset at mealtime and they throw their food around, or all these things, and you're worried. And, is this kid ever going to get it? Are they just going to be able to sit and eat normally? What's going to be? And so you're afraid, and you're worried, and you're stressed out, right? And at that moment in your life, this is a huge problem. This is gigantic. And it's ruining your life, and you're stressed out, and you're worried, and you're a mess, because you think that your kid, there's something wrong with him, and they're never going to make it. Because they can't. And it sounds funny right now, but when you're in that situation, it's everything. It's everything, right? So I remember hearing from some wise older Jewish Bubby, speaking about this Indian, the phrase was, "You're not going to be holding their spoon at their chasana." Right? When they're getting married, they're gonna be okay. Don't worry so much. In other words, right? But what is that? What's the point? Why am I using this as an example? Because certain difficulties and challenges that we have, they seem huge, right? I heard Gedalia Fenster saying this in one of his things. I heard it today. We were saying one of the problems of stresses that we have is that we make little things huge, and we make huge things small. This is one of the ways that we can kind of lose our way, lose our focus. Very often, these things are only little because I don't have clarity. And I don't have Eitzah Shlema, as we're talking about over here, perfect counsel. I don't have perspective, and because I don't have the Emunas Chachamim. So I'm in the dark. I'm in the state of doubt. And so these things seem insurmountable and crazy. Right? So really, with a change of perspective, with a connection to Emunas Chachamim, it could be that it's the same thing, but from a different perspective. I'm like, okay. So, the same little kid with the same problem could be like, okay, he's struggling a little bit. No worries, I have a money. He's going to be okay. He'll be fine. He'll take time. He's going to be okay. And that's like a simple example. But if you're a parent, as like people like to say, as the child grows, the problems grow. Mm-hmm. As the child gets bigger, the problems get bigger. Meaning they seem to be more serious. I'm saying seem to be more serious. But a person's perspective and emunah and emunah chachamim, emunah and bitachon in Hashem can grow with that too, and that more difficult problem when the child is older, and now it seems to be more serious. Oh, the child is struggling in school, and then maybe they're not keeping up in a certain way that they're supposed to keep up with the other kids, right? And this, once again, this can have a parent like losing their mind, and their whole entire focus in life is on this. But with emunas chachamim, and with a connection to Torah, with a plug-in to this channel, really it can be the exact same thing. And it can be like, okay, we're going to deal with what we have to deal with here, and we're going to do our part, and Hashem's going to take care of the rest, and everything is going to go the way it's supposed to go. This kid is going to be fine. I'm doing my part, I'm doing my best. I'm davening to Hashem, Hashem's going to do His best, and everything is going to be okay. And I can really, truthfully, have that same judgment be sweetened with what we're experiencing over here. And you could use this applies to any aspect of life. It doesn't have to be children. It can be things we're looking towards. It can be with our decision-making process. It can be with our individual challenges of whatever. Everyone has challenges. It can be with, I want to get married, right? We like to say sometimes, the challenge is I want to get married and I'm not. Another person has a challenge, I'm married and it's not going well, right? One person wants to have children, the other person is stressed because they do have children, right? We all have our things that we're looking for. And for every person, there's an aspect of this, of a hamtakas adinim. So sometimes, the word hamtakas adinim, the sweetening of judgments, is because it has to do with the same situation, but with a different perspective of emunah, right? The same thing, but it's sweetened. Before I looked at it and I was bitter. Now I look at it and I'm sweet, and I have such a perspective.
So is it sweetened by our faith, or?
Yeah, it's sweetened. It could. I mean, so really, it's on the one hand, we're talking about something that's very practical sounding and sort of dependent on our own perspective, right? But on the other hand, we're also talking about something spiritual here. And the connection of Emunah Chacham is really connecting to a powerful light, right? To a powerful light that comes from the highest of the high, to the, we're going to talk about it soon, the Ora Chachma Ilah, the upper supernal wisdom that I'm plugging myself into with this. And that means that it's not just me choosing to look at it a different way, which is sort of the way I might relate to it. But it's also, I'm plugging into a powerhouse of spiritual energy and wisdom and eitzah. In other words, when you face problems in your life, but you face them through accepting them, and then learning Torah, and davening to Hashem, and connecting to teachers and to rabbis and to the tzaddikim, right? When we do this, we plug ourselves in on multiple prongs. We have the wisdom and the Torah and the eitzah that's in this sefer. We also have the spiritual energy that flows from this channel of Rabbi Nachman into us and the tzaddikim, right? We also have this and then when we speak to people, we ask eitzah, we ask for advice from people who are a little bit higher than us, or as we said before, sometimes even from our friends, right? That's another place of clarity, another place, but it's all tied together to this channel of Emunah Chachamim. And what does Emunah Chachamim mean again, guys? It means plugging in to our entire Masorah, our entire tradition, our entire line of transmission, which is everything of Judaism, right? It's a powerful, powerful spiritual force that fills us up in many different ways, including our own adjustment of perspective.
Is there any way to plug into it outside of, learning Torah?
Doesn't seem to be. without Torah and Tefillah and all these things that we're talking about over here, we can't do it. Tshuva, Torah.
When you learn it and you plug into this, then your life outside of it becomes better.
I'm saying if someone isn't ready to learn,
Yeah.
let's say, that's what I mean. For people who aren't ready to open to learning, how can they plug in?
You have to be
No,
a good
it's not.
source
It's
of your actions,
we need to. You need to plug into. We have to plug into Torah. Without a Jew without Torah is not gonna pull this in. There's more to talk about this though. There's more to say. We'll say it afterwards. So the other aspect of Nimtakim Adinim. Let's go farther now, because we're going to see something that's going to explain a little bit more. Ki kol hamtakos shel kol hatzimtzumim v'adinim hu al yadei haseichel. All of the sweetenings, mitigations, of all of the constrictions and judgments, harsh judgments, is through the seichel, the intellect. the mind. Ki chulam b'machshava is bariru. As there's a Kabbalistic concept, which is that all dinim are sweetened are clarified, sweetened, purified, whatever the word is, in the place of machshava, in the place of thought. Sha'seichel hu sheresh adinim, because the seichel is the root of all judgment. V'sham nimtakim adinim. So therefore, that's the place where the judgments become sweetened. Ki ein hadin nimtak ela b'sharasha, because there's a rule in Kabbalah that a judgment can only be sweetened or mitigated at the place of its root. V'chol din v'tzimtzum tzarech she'yeh nimtak b'seichel ha'shayich leh, shesham sharasha. And every din, every judgment has to be sweetened, rectified in that particular seichel. Seichel is intellect, or let's call it intellect, that is connected to it. So in other words, we're saying a bunch of different things over here. That there are the word seichel. So we're talking on two levels over here. We're talking about, first of all, on a regular level, and seichel means our thoughts. Meaning what? If you are a person who needs to make a judgment, who needs to make a decision, right? That takes place in your seichel. And it's your seichel that is the place where you define whether that's going to be whether it's going to be something good from this decision, or whether it's going to be dark and difficult and painful. Din, right? That happens in the mind. This is the place of the place of decision, the place of judgment. Our minds are the place of judgment. That's where we judge from, right? Simple meaning. On the other hand, there's also, we're speaking about the concept. I don't know if you remember when we talked about the spheres of existence, right? Going up. One of those levels of spheres was called, or all of those spheres were guided by sichliim, which are like angelic supernal intellects, meaning intellectual, spiritual forces, right? So there's seichel also means this, that everything that comes down to us, the dinim that come down, are coming from a place of these spiritual intellects. Angelic intellects. I'm not exactly sure how to say it in English. Right? And so those things will be sweetened or rectified in their root, which is in a very high spiritual place. But he says, the whole din, but it has to be fixed, mitigated, corrected in the place, in the root where it comes from, each individual thing. Meaning that a person, sounds like, has to know in their tshuva, whatever they're doing, exactly how to reach the root of whatever din is coming to me. And only through that channel will I be able to rectify and fix this and sweeten this judgment. Right? Does that sound confusing and difficult?
Yes.
Thank you. It is. And we don't know how to do that. Right? It's not just, everyone's like, is it just me? I don't know how to do it. No, I don't know how to do that either. I mean, I do, but for a different reason. For a different reason, right? So what do we do? This is very similar, by the way, to Rabbi Nachman's Tikkun Klali. V'yesh l'chol tzimtzum v'tzimtzum seichel she'al yadei nimtak. Each individual constriction that we experience, challenge, darkness, test, that we experience, has its own intellect, that through that intellect it will be sweetened. Right? However, yesh chachma ilah. There's something called chachma ilah, which is, you translate here as upper wisdom. Shekol hachachmois kalulim sham. It's the place where all wisdom is united and encompassed within that place. Chachma ilah. Umekablin misham. And we can receive from there. We can receive from there. Valkein. Sorry, that's where all chachmas are all wisdoms are encompassed there, and all wisdoms receive from there. Therefore, Valkein, sham nimtakim kol hadinim. That's the place where all dinim, all judgments, all harsh judgments can be sweetened. Ki ba'sichlim pratiim, because by the individual sichlim, the individual intellects, If we have an individual issue with a particular din that's attached to a particular intellect, we can only fix it if we can get to that particular intellect. But through this aspect of the upper wisdom, which encompasses all of them, there we can sweeten and repair and rectify all constrictions and harsh judgments. It's like there's like one medicine. There's different medicines for everything, but then there's like and you have to know. You have to have a doctor to tell you take this medicine for this medicine for this, and you have to know each one, right? But then there's something. There's like the magical cure all. We don't have such a thing, right? But it's like it's the one pill that fixes everything, right? It's one place where you can connect to accomplish everything without individually attacking all these different dinim and sichlim. Let's go a little bit more. Torah and the Torah that comes from this place of chachma ilah. Ki oraisa me chachma ilah nafkas, because Torah. So the Zohar Kodesh says these words that Torah comes from chachma ilah. It's also the place where Torah comes from. Ve'ein yechol lekabel me chachma ilah ki im kashiyesh la shleimus. We can only receive from the chachma ilah, from this place of this upper wisdom, when the Torah has shleimus, the Torah has completion or perfection. How do you say it? Is whole. When the Torah is whole. Ushleimus ha-Torah, hi al yadei Torah shebal peh. And the shleimus of Torah, the making Torah whole, the completion of Torah, the perfection of Torah, is only through the Torah shebal peh, which is what we call the oral Torah in English. Right? So, before we go further into this, he says, Ki Torah shebiksav ein la shleimus. Ki ma yadei Torah shebal peh. The written Torah does not have a shleimus, a completion, a perfection, only through the Torah shebal peh, the oral Torah. This is written Torah and oral Torah. What's the story? So, it's very simple, and there's things, I'm sure most of us know this already. But if you just have the written Torah, you do not know anything. We know a little bit, right? But, one of the good examples of this, there's a bunch of good examples, but one of the greatest examples of this is tefillin, right? What does the Torah say about putting on tefillin? It says really two things, right? Yeah. It says the vayu totafot beinenecha, whatever that means. Rashi says it comes from an African word. This is what the Torah says. Nowhere in the Torah does it say. It says, write these words, bind them on your arm and on your head, right? Nowhere does it say between your eyes. Sorry, put them between your eyes. So, do you see Jews walking around with parchments tied onto their arms and right between their eyes, tied? You ever seen such a thing? You have not. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Could be some crazy people out there. Could be. But that's not what tefillin is. Right? It's not even between the eyes. Right? Only through the Torah shebal peh do we know that tefillin have to be made of leather. And all this stuff has tremendous meaning. And that they have every single parsha in the Torah where tefillin is talked about is written and placed inside these leather black boxes that have to be square and black and leather. And then those get tied with straps that go around your arm, leather. And that has to be, in the head tefillin, there has to be a little, the parchments are wrapped up inside, and they're tied around to keep in place with like a hair from a cow. And those hairs have to poke out, 4 hairs poke out from the top of the head tefillin. And all these little things. And they have to be perfect. If they're not square, they're not kosher. If one of the letters is off, it's not kosher. If the black stuff comes off, it's not kosher in certain places. And all these things are, and now go back and look archaeologically, and you'll see black boxes from thousands of years ago that are found where Jews lived. They had this. And everywhere you go, the Yemenites that were cut off from any communication with the rest of the Jewish world for like 2,000 years, they have the same tefillin. Everyone has the same tefillin, and it's not in the written Torah whatsoever what tefillin is supposed to be. Right? It's because it's all explained in the oral Torah, in the Torah Shebaal Peh. The Torah Shebaal Peh completes and explains what is not explained properly in the Torah. Right? The Torah says you have to, for certain types of korbanos, you have to slaughter the animal as I commanded you. But it never says how do you exactly slaughter it. What are the rules? How does the knife have to be? It doesn't say anywhere. The knife has to be perfectly smooth so that it doesn't cause pain to the animal. And, you have to cut here exactly in the place, and you have to cut through the 2 tubes so that it dies right away. It's not written any better. But if you don't do that, the animal is not kosher at all. And there's example after example after example about this. The Torah Shebaal Peh, the oral Torah, is inextricable from the written Torah. Right? You can't. The two go together hand in hand, and both were given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. Right? And so, what is the essence of the oral Torah? The essence of the oral Torah is Emunas Chachamim. Because that's what it is. It's the Torah that is passed down from Chacham to Chacham, Tzaddik to Tzaddik, every generation. The Torah Shebaal Peh is the Torah of the Chachamim and the Tzaddikim. The written Torah has not changed one drop of ink in 3,000 years, or however long it's been. Right? Nothing has changed. It's exactly the same as it was. But the Torah Shebaal Peh is the Torah of the Tzaddikim. That every, the Mishnah is filled with all the tzaddikim that were the Tanaim from that period when the second Beis Hamikdash was still around. The Gemara is written in that time between that and the Goinim, and it's filled with all those tzaddikim. Then you have the Goinim, and then you have the Rishonim, and all of the Rashis and the Rans and the Tosfos and the Ritva and all these ones from Europe and from Spain. And then you have after that the Achronim, and all of the books of halacha and psak and deeper understandings of the Torah. And through that whole time, you also have the Svarim of Kabbalah that are not part of the written Torah at all. Right? And it's all of our Torah, all of the books on the shelf there, except for one little one, are Torah Shebaal Peh, are the oral Torah. Right? This is the Torah Shebaal Peh, the oral Torah is Judaism. It's Klal Yisrael. It's us, and it is in essence Emunas Chachamim. So it's when we're talking about how when we do tshuva, and through doing our tshuva, we're kind of writing our own sefer, and that really our own book, and that arouses us and gives the other books, the other svarim, gives them importance in our eyes and connects us to them. This is connecting us to the tzaddikim and the Talmidei Chachamim throughout all of the generations. This is connecting us to the Chachamim, to Emunas Chachamim. This is what happens when we do this, right? And the Torah, all of the Torah, all of the written Torah and the oral Torah, all of it comes down, is sourced originally in this place called Chachma Ilah, the upper wisdom. So everything, all the sichlim, all the intellects, all the Torah, the written Torah, all of the oral Torah, every sefer, every book that was ever written, all comes from Chachma Ilah. And that's the place, that's like the original source, where all dinim come from, where everything comes down from. And so it's the place where the dinim can be sweetened. So what we're saying over here is something very, very, very deep, right? That we cannot fix our judgments. We cannot sweeten our judgments unless we're able to reach the source, the root. How do you and I, right, here living in 2025, in Thornhill, going about our days, we all have jobs and we all have lives and people to deal with, and we all have challenges and people that make things difficult for us. Some people make things more difficult than others, right? Right? We all know who we're talking about. Just kidding. Not really though. Not really kidding. But right? So when how do we do that? How do we connect to the root of everything? This whole lesson is telling us, you know how you do it? You want to be able to connect on that level? It's through emunas chachamim. It's through emunas chachamim. And plugging ourselves in, aligning ourselves with this whole, like I keep saying, I don't know if other people explain it this way. Emunas chachamim is aligning myself with all of our Jewish tradition, all of our Masorah, our entire Masorah, all of the Torah, all of the tzaddikim, all of the advice, and everything that came down, all the stories, everything. That is connecting ourselves to Emunas chachamim. And when we do that, we connect ourselves to there, we're connecting ourselves to that pillar that links us down here, way up there, to this top place called Chachmei Lo, which is the root of all Torah and the root of all dinim. Harsh judgments, difficulties, challenges, suffering. Everything comes from that place. And the wisdom to turn it over also. It's through all of these svarim, all the books, he says, gained renewed meaning through the dispute, the machlokes, sefer kosav ish rivi, from the guy, the one of us, who's willing to fight, who's willing to push themselves to grow, and to challenge their previous way of life. Push themselves, work themselves, and change back and forth, fighting and coming back, asking and answering, doing all this. That person is making tremendous svarim, is making unlimited svarim. And when we do that, and we open ourselves to all of the rest of the svarim, we are now aligning ourselves and putting ourselves into this place of Chachmei Lo. Vazai haTorah v'chinas luchos ha'evan. Then the Torah becomes an aspect of luchos ha'evan, which means the stone tablets. Shemekabeles ha'ora mev'chinas evan shesiyah. So, if you remember, we had this concept. Oh, no, we didn't get to it yet. Evan shesiyah. So, Evan shesiyah is a word that means foundation stone. Foundation stone, or I think in modern terms, like you'd call it a cornerstone. Like when they make a building and they put like a cornerstone written on it, this building was made by Max and Miriam Goldstein. I don't know, whatever, right? That's the foundation stone, the cornerstone. We have this thing called the Evan Shesiyah, which is the foundation stone, which is apparently what is underneath the dome of the rock, which is where the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the Beis HaMikdash is. It's the stone that Avram Avinu first made his sacrifice to over there. I think it's supposed to be also the stones of Yaakov Avinu, that all the 12 stones that came into one, right? And it's the place where all of creation takes place from. It's called the foundation stone, the Evan Shesiyah. It's the center of all of existence, of the whole entire creation, is from this place. That's why we want the to be connected to the Har HaBayis and to the Beis HaMikdash and the Evan Shesiyah, because that's there. But it means this concept of the foundation of everything, the Evan Shesiyah, right? So what does that have to do with over here? And so when you hear what he's saying over here, when we're able to bring together, to make the Torah whole, how do we make the Torah whole? We open ourselves up to all of the Torah. The Torah Shebiksav, the Torah Shebal Peh, the written and oral Torah, to the Torah of the Kabbalah and of the Chassidus and all of the Tzaddikim and all of the everything. When we open ourselves up to that and we have emunah in all of that, now by us, the Torah is complete. The Torah is whole, and now we can attach ourselves to that place where it all comes from. Because if we don't, it's like there's a few practical things. I'm going to tangerine a little bit here for a second, but. A few practical things. What if you're a person who says, there's different ways to approach different svarim written by different people, or different rabbis, or different rebbitzins, whatever you want to call it, different teachers, right? So you can be the person. I'll never forget. One time, there was a guy who was struggling a lot in life in general and emunah, and I connected him to a certain speaker. I was like, you got to listen to this speaker. This guy is saying everything that you need to hear. Great speaker, awesome person. And so the person listened to it, and I literally, in my naivety, I thought he's going to listen to him, and this guy's going to be blown away. It's going to help to solve all his problems. This guy was a big, he had a lot of problems with arrogance and whatever. And anyway, so he listened to this guy, and he's like, "Who does this guy think he is? Is he even a rabbi? I don't want to listen to someone if they're not a rabbi." And I was like, "What?" I almost thought he was joking. I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was just like super critical, and was like, "No, I don't need this. I'll get my learning from rabbis who I know. This person is a big genius and teaches Torah in an amazing way. Happens to not be an ordained rabbi, right? And is a fountain of wisdom and of help and just of light. Totally amazing, right?" And this is what this person said. So, part of what we're talking about over here is making a unification, making a wholeness. So if I say that, I'm cutting out a portion of Torah. I'm cutting out a portion of our Masorah, of our tradition. I'm saying, no, that's not for me. That's blocking me from getting to that place where everything comes from. Right? And you're going to ask me, you telling me I have to like everything? Every speaker I ever go to, I have to like it? Right? What do you think I'm going to say? There's plenty of speakers I don't like to listen to. But I don't say this is terrible. Who should this is not worthy. No, I say, okay, fantastic. I have the things I have to focus on. I can't. It's not exactly going for me, but with tremendous respect, right? And we know, you have all kinds of different Jews out there. You got Breslov, you got Chabad, you got Yeshivish, you got Hasidish, you got Sephardi, you got Moroccan, you got Iraqi. You have like all the things you could imagine. All these different types of Jews with all kinds of different traditions. And if we are going to say only my seichel is the right one, and the other sichlim out there are invalid, we're cutting ourselves off from the connection to the top. We're not going to be able to draw down that light that comes from the place where everything is connected. Right? We have to have a shleimus of Torah in order to do that, a completion. Right? So too, by the way, we're going to see also, as we go a little bit further, we're running out of time, but as we go a little bit further, so the Torah that comes down from the big tzaddikim is one definition of seichel, different sichlim that we have to connect to, right? But you know what else is our individual sichlim? Every single Jewish person is a revelation of a holy intellect that comes from an individual neshama, an individual soul, right? Every single Jew is a unique revelation of this light from Hashem into the world. And you see, how many Jews do we have at this table right now? Whatever it is, 10 with all of us here, I don't know. And everybody, I always like to use this word, Jews often are like fiercely unique. Look around the table.
Absolutely.
Everyone is like got some kind of particular channel that they bring into the world, right? And we all are plugged into the same place, the Chachmei Elah, the upper wisdom. That's where all of our souls come from, and all of the light that we bring into the world comes from, right? And our job is to take our individual seichel and to unite it with the Chachmei Elah. Through what? Through Emunas Chachamim, through our learning of Torah, all the different types of wisdom of the Torah, Gemara, Torah Shebaal Peh, whatever, all the stuff together. And when I do that, and I connect myself to all that, now I can plug in. That's called Emunas Chachamim. When I'm plugging into the whole thing. And now I have a direct channel, and I can draw it down from this place of Chachmei Elah. Not only that, I can connect to that place where the dinim are nimtakim, where the judgments, harsh judgments, are sweetened at their source. But as soon as I start to go now and look around, and I take that judgment, the dinim, and I use it against other Jews when I'm not supposed to, in a negative way, what am I doing? I'm what?
Measure for measure.
Measure for measure, 100%. And I'm literally destroying the unity. I'm destroying the shleimus, the completion that I'm trying so hard to build by connecting to Torah and connecting to emunah. Right? Once again, doesn't mean I have to, I mean, it should be, but doesn't mean I have to love it does mean I have to. How do I say this properly? Doesn't mean that I have to force myself to spend time with every single Jew, even the ones that rub me the wrong way. But I can't write them off. I can't. We all, in order for the Chachma Ilah, is going to use a different word as we get a bit further, called the Seichel HaKlali. In order for me to connect to the Seichel HaKlali, it can only be the Seichel HaKlali if it is, Klali means, by the way, the all-encompassing. Collective, thank you. It can only be the collective Seichel, or the all-encompassing Seichel, if it is all-encompassing. If it is collective. And if I'm the guy who says, I don't like this rabbi, I don't like this book, this Jew I really don't like, right? I'm now removing myself from that collective soul, that collective intellect, that collective neshama, that chachma ilah. I'm cutting myself off, right? So once again, it's not everybody is meant to be a Breslever, not everybody is meant to be a Lubavitcher, not everybody is meant to be a Litvak, right? We all have our different channels, and we don't have to go down each other's channel, but we have to realize that we're all part of a klali, of a klalius, of a collectiveness, of something bigger. And when I do that, both in my learning, in my tshuva of myself, and in my amunah, and emunah sechamim, and with other Jews, and everything, when I do that, now I'm connecting myself to something much greater. And now I'm able to plug into that place, to receive light, to receive inspiration, to receive clarity, to receive all of these things that we're talking about over here, and to have my judgment sweetened and mitigated, right? So this all came from we're explaining the word Even Shesiyah, foundation stone, which is what, and everything comes from that. Because he says over here, we only have a few more minutes. Everything in the world has a different constriction in quantity and quality. And all constrictions that exist in the world are all imprinted within the foundation stone, the Even Shesiyah. That from it, the universe was founded. And they all receive from it. V'sham hamtakas kol hadinim. And there, all of the sweetening of judgments happens. Because it's the place of the upper wisdom. The holy of holies. nikra kodesh. Our intellect is called holy. And all of the sichlim are bound together and encompassed within the holy of holies. Which is the upper wisdom. Which is made up of all of them. And from there is where all sweetening of judgments happens in individually and collectively. So we're saying over here, this Inyan, by the way, Even Shesiyah. So constrictions is an aspect of creation. In other words, let's a few more minutes, okay. Let's speak Kabbalistically about creation. I think we brought it down here not too long ago. So, right, in the beginning, before everything existed, before the beginning, I guess, before there was such a thing as before time existed, which we can't understand, there is only the light of the infinite, the light of Hashem, the Ein Sof, the light of the infinite. And how does creation begin to take place? First of all, the Ein Sof had to retract, contract, tzimtzum, and make a place where that light is no longer there, that creation could take place within that. Why? The light of Hashem is not like light like this, where there's light and here's my hand within the light. The light of Hashem is all-encompassing. Wherever the light of Hashem is in its full glory, nothing else could be there. Nothing else could exist. everything was Hashem. Everything was Ein Sof, was infinite. That means nothing else could possibly exist, right? Because as soon as you have something like you take this telephone here, and you say, "Oh, this phone can be within the infinite." It can't be, because then wherever this phone exists and the edges of that phone exist is the edge of the infinite, meaning it's not infinite anymore; it's finite. If this can exist, if you can have two things in existence, there's no such thing as absolute infinite, right? Because wherever the other thing exists, the other thing doesn't exist. Only the Or Ein Sof. It's a very deep topic. We could talk about this one point for like an hour, or many. But the point I'm trying to say over here is that so the way we understand it is that Hashem removed His light. Creation begins with darkness, made a place of darkness called Tzimtzum. And then within that Tzimtzum, within that place of darkness, He could begin to bring in little bits of light to make creation happen from His essence, right? So you know what that means? It means that every single thing that ever exists is a constriction of the light of Hashem. Everything in the universe is a constriction of the light of Hashem. So the Even Shesiyah, which is the foundation point of all creation, it's a spiritual concept, not just an actual stone with someone's dedication on it, right? This place of where creation begins from, it's like the source of everything, and it's the place where all of the constrictions of the light of Hashem come out and create everything in the universe. And now that we exist in our created form in the universe over here, we can continue to receive from that place of the light of Hashem that is coming into creation. However, we can choose to receive that light in a way of or, of light, or a way of tzimtzum, of constriction. When it's light, when He's shining on us with brightness, that's called the Or HaMishpat. When it feels dark and confusing and difficult and suffering and painful, that's the dinim side. That's when the lights are turned down. It's too much tzimtzum. But it all comes from this place of Even Shesiyah, which is the place of creation, which is the place that we're calling of Chachmei Lah, of the upper wisdom, the source of everything, right? So the main idea that we're connecting this to when we say this is that if we want to connect to the oneness of the source of all of creation, the source of all wisdom, the source of all clarity, the source of all goodness in the world, we have to be part of that oneness. We have to be part of that oneness. And the way we do it is through Emunas Chachamim, and through, like we're saying, not pushing things out, but rather gathering things in the right way. So when we say this, we're referring to obviously two things. We're referring obviously to drawing in all of the chachmas, all of the wisdoms, all of the sichlim. What's the sichlim? Are the different things that come into the world from Hashem in the way He behaves with us, and every single Jewish soul, and all the books of Torah, and all of the tzaddikim. These we need to unite. There's things that we push out, and we keep away, right? But it's not from a place of things that should be brought close and united. These are the things that the way that we really make them part of the whole system is by pushing them away. You know what I mean? Not eating tray food, for example. Not eating bacon. Yeah? So we don't say everything's one, and I need to make everything one. So I bring that in. The way that I make that piece of bacon part of Hashem and part of the oneness of everything is by doing what I'm supposed to do with it, which is stay away from it. Right? If I choose to eat it, I'm pulling myself out from the whole system. From the whole system. So now that we have this concept of all of the books of Torah wisdom, all of the sages, teachers, tzaddikim, chachamim, moras, everything that we had throughout all the generations, and every single Jewish soul as a point of seichel, a unique point of seichel and light in the world, right? They're all sources of chachma. You hear this? They're all sources of chachma. So I want to say, I don't know if anybody agrees with me. This is me. I'm not saying that this is what Rabbi Nachman is saying. I'm saying this is the way that this Torah is speaking to me. You can choose to disagree with it. But the reason why he's focusing on this concept of emunas chachamim is because really it means emunah, that all of these sources of chachma, like chachamim, like the plural of chachma, not just it would be chachmot, but not just the rabbis who teach, but all of the divine wisdom that comes into the world through all these different sources. When I have emunah in all of that, and I gather all of that together and connect myself to that collective, that wholeness, that oneness, now I'm plugged in. Now I'm connected. So this is part of our avodah over here, and then we'll finish it there. But I want to say one point outside, because Tali asked a good question. And what do you do how can someone who doesn't have Torah, doesn't have a desire to learn, right? That's what you said? Doesn't have a desire to learn. So how can they, are they just, they going to be cut off? That's it? They're done for? Game over? What do we do? What?
I think we hold space for them, and the more work we do, the more we elevate others. So, like, my family's not on that journey, but I know that I'm lifting them up by doing my work. So, and I lead by example. I think
That's a good one.
the best we can, like, what,
Yeah,
we
that's
can't force people to
that's
do
one thing.
something.
Also, yeah, very good. Anybody else? By the way? No? Another very, very important thing to take from this Torah in this realm is to remember and to have emunah that really we're all part of this. And especially, like let's say if you find yourself connected to someone, whether it's in a family unit or a friend unit, a circle, whatever it is, right? So that means that you're part of a connection, and that means that we're lifting each other up, and we have to, in other words, we don't want to push that person aside. We don't want to say, we need to have some emunah that by us doing our part, by davening and by encouraging, that person will also be connected to the light. Something will happen, right? And the worst thing we can do over here is to go away from the concept of emunah and emunas chachamim, and to say to see this with despair, right? What do we do when we have a situation of despair where it looks like we don't know what to do? What's going to be, right? We have a challenge that we don't know how we're going to get over it, right? So we say the words that we said at the beginning, which is, I'm going to do everything in my power that I can do. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to daven. I'm going to be a good example, and I'm going to have trust in Hashem that He's going to make it. It's going to work out. With the little kid with the spoon, it's the same thing. That guy who's having trouble connecting to learning, he's the same little kid with the spoon, right? We're going to do what we have to do, and the Rebbe Shalom is going to take care of it. This is our attitude, and with that attitude, it's going to happen. It's for sure going to happen. But if we lose our will, and we get into despair, and we lose this aspect of emunah, that person will sense it spiritually. Everything is going to go downhill, right? We got to keep going with emunah, with positivity, with goodness, with connection, and it's going to happen. Everyone's going to come. Everyone is going to come in the right time. Yeah.
I'm just curious. You keep saying that every Jewish person is a light, or is a what was the word you used?
Channel, maybe.
Channel.
Yeah.
How does that work with a Jewish person who's not at all connected to Judaism? What can you learn from them?
Right.
Everything.
So the problem is when someone is totally disconnected, their light is like totally blocked. They have it, they have it. But this is the concept of klipa, right? what does the word klipa mean in modern Hebrew? A peel, right? Like an orange peel is a klipa, right? Or a potato skin is a klipa. And when a person doesn't have Torah and mitzvahs, and all they have is all of the opposite of that, right? It's layer upon layer built around them. Really, they have this soul. They have this powerful soul. Every single Jew has this powerful light of a soul that is totally pure, completely pure, and cannot be touched. Cannot be touched. However, it's just it's clouded over. And you know what? The other thing is the light tries to come out, but it has to go through all these layers, and sometimes when it does come out, it's not nice because it's been filtered and refracted and changed through all of this schmutz that's surrounding this person, right? But we have to know that every single Jew has this, and the process of tshuva, the process of learning Torah and tefillah and coming together, removes those layers and allows that light to shine in the way that it's supposed to. This happens to us also, by the way. You know, sometimes, I'll say about me, not you guys. Sometimes you're shining a lot of light and it's going great, right? But sometimes you realize that your light, whatever you're shining, is causing damage. That happens when you get in like a fight or something, or where you lose control, you get angry, whatever these things are, right? What's happening there? It's that you're the same source of light that you were always, but there's been something put up. It got dirty. It got a little bit bent and made crooked and refracted, and it came out in a way that is not good. You know? But every Jew has this. Every single Jew. Every Jew is called a chelek Elokah mimal. That means a piece of God from above. Every Jew is a piece of God. And you know, when you look around at the people we spend time with, it's very easy to see a lot of pieces of Hashem. But we all have our times when we're not shining the way we should, and there's plenty of Jews out there that have never shined. And so when we look at such people, those people, right? when we look at such people, our thought process should not be of like us and them, right? And it should not be like ugh, I don't like these people.
It's too much of a judgment.
It's a huge judgment. It's a huge judgment, and
we
it's
don't know what they do, and
right.
What they don't do.
Our process should be always to do anything we can to help, and if not, at least to appreciate who they are, where they come from, and not be judgmental on them.